Have you ever just stopped and wondered how your body heals itself? From a simple paper cut to bouncing back after a really tough week, there's this incredible natural intelligence at work inside all of us. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into what helps that system work its magic, and maybe more importantly, what's getting in its way.
Okay, so to really get this, let's use a little analogy. I want you to imagine that your body has this built-in repair crew, and they are on the clock 24/7. They're constantly fixing things, rebuilding, and just doing maintenance. And their instruction manual? Well, that's your DNA. This isn't some sci-fi concept. It's literally the process that keeps you going day in and day out.
Right, so if we have this amazing crew working around the clock, why do we sometimes feel so run down? Why does it feel like we're just not recovering the way we should be? What is slowing them down? And that, right there, is the big question we're tackling. We're about to go on a hunt for the most common roadblocks that jam up our body's natural healing abilities.
And you know where we're going to start? Inside our own heads. It sounds a little strange, I know, but our mental and emotional state can create this kind of internal static. And that static can be one of the biggest roadblocks to physical healing. Let's take a look at how that actually works.
What's so wild is that each of these things sends a very specific signal to that repair crew. Constant stress? That's like keeping the emergency alarm blaring all day long, which means no deep repairs can get started. Holding in your emotions or just being around negative people all the time, it sends the same message. Warning, it's not safe here. And for some people, even marijuana can get things mixed up, confusing the systems that handle mood and sleep, and burning through the very chemicals your body needs to relax and get into repair mode.
Okay, so let's say we've dialed down some of that mental static. What's next? Well, we gotta talk about the fuel for our repair crew, because what we eat can either be the building blocks they need to do their job, or it can actually start fires. We're talking inflammation that the crew has to waste all its time and energy putting out.
So let's look at a few of these common fire starters. Alcohol is a big one. It directly gets in the way of the liver, which is like the main cleanup site. Then you've got processed vegetable oils. Think of them as causing internal rust that just gums up the works and damages cells. Refined sugar, that just completely overloads the system. And here's a surprising one. For some people, even healthy-sounding things like aged or fermented foods can trigger that same inflammatory response if they're sensitive to histamines.
And the list goes on with some even sneakier hurdles. Artificial sweeteners can mess with our good gut bacteria, who are like our best friends when it comes to immunity. Processed meats, non-organic stuff, it all just adds extra chores for the liver. But this one is huge. When you burn or grill food, it can create chemicals that can directly damage your DNA. That's like someone scribbling all over the instruction manual that your repair crew needs to do its job.
All right, now let's zoom out a bit and look at our daily habits. Our routines, our rhythms, they send these really powerful signals to our body. They're basically telling it when it's go time, and just as importantly, when it's time to shift into that all-important rest and repair mode.
Okay, these are the absolute non-negotiable fundamentals. Sleep, that's prime time for your repair crew. It's their main shift. So less sleep literally means less repair work gets done, period. And water? Think of water as the river that carries all the supplies to the job site and hauls away all the trash. If that river starts to dry up, the whole system just gets clogged and grinds to a halt. And finally, just taking time to rest. If you're always on the go, your body never gets the all-clear signal to actually begin the deep healing work.
But here's the thing. There is one super common habit that we all have now that throws a massive wrench into this whole system. It directly blocks one of the most important hormones for nighttime repair. Any guesses what it is?
Yep, it's the blue light from our phones, our tablets, our TVs late at night. That light tricks our brain into thinking it's still daytime, and that slams the brakes on melatonin production. But here's the kicker. Melatonin isn't just for sleep. It is a critical hormone that your repair crew uses to protect and fix your DNA. So scrolling in bed at night, it's like you're literally yanking a critical tool right out of their hands and telling them their shift is over.
And speaking of balance, this is such a great example when it comes to exercise. It's a real Goldilocks situation. If you get too little exercise, your body's waste removal system gets all sluggish and backed up. But if you get too much, your body can get stuck in a state of stress, which, as we've learned, prevents that deep recovery. It's all about finding that sweet spot right in the middle.
So for our last category, let's talk about the roadblocks we might not even see. These are the hidden obstacles in our environment that can add a huge burden to our system without us even realizing it.
First up is a really big one, mold.
The toxins from mold act like an invading army inside your body. They cause a ton of inflammation, and they are incredibly difficult for your body to get rid of. This means a huge part of your repair crew gets pulled off their normal jobs just to go fight this one battle.
Next, we've got plastics. You can think of the chemicals they release as chemical imposters. They can leach out of containers into our food and water, and once they're inside us, they act like fake hormones. It's like trying to use the wrong key in a really delicate lock. It just confuses the body's entire communication network and creates a massive cleanup job.
And then there are heavy metals. We're talking about tiny particles from things like old cookware or maybe even our water supply. Over time, they can build up and get stuck in our tissues. When that happens, they can seriously interfere with our nervous system's wiring, almost like static on a phone line, blocking important signals and detox pathways. So we can round out this list with things like unfiltered tap water or even certain medications that can add to the pile. And that really gets to the key idea here, the total load. Think of it like a bucket. Any one of these things might not be a huge deal, but when the bucket starts overflowing from all these different sources, that's when our repair crew just gets completely overwhelmed. The goal here isn't to live in fear, it's just to be aware of what's filling up your bucket. So, wow. After looking at all of those roadblocks, it would be really easy to feel a little overwhelmed. But here is the most important part of this whole conversation. You are in the driver's seat. You are the guide for your body's repair crew. You have the power to start clearing the path for them to do their job.
So what's the first step? Look, the goal is not to try and fix everything at once. That would just create more stress, right? The real goal is just awareness. Just pick one thing, one small thing from this explainer that really stood out to you. Maybe it's just drinking one more glass of water a day, or maybe putting your phone away an hour before bed. Start there. Small changes, done consistently, are what really clear the big roadblocks over time.
And you know, in the end, it really all boils down to this single idea. Our bodies have this profound innate wisdom. They want to heal. Our job isn't to force it or to micromanage it. It's simply to remove the obstacles, turn down the noise, and just create a calm, supportive environment. Because when we do that, our repair crew can finally get back to work,